Hello, welcome. Nikki Scott here. As I said, these are very much these team training sessions are very much in their infancy at the moment and very much guided by what you would like. I think we've got over 100 people in that UK Hypopressives Trainers Unite group because now we've amalgamated the students as well. So we've brought anybody that's on our courses, whether that's online or whether they've done a live course, into the group as well because they can all benefit from the wealth of information, the wealth of different professions and all of the different people that are in there that are using hypopressives currently. So, obviously this is only a very small section of people that are already in that group. And I have been trying to play around with times of day and days of the week to try and accommodate everybody. So do please keep commenting if you can't make or you can make. I'll probably put another poll in for the next one that I do. Just before we get started into the session next week, is it? I don't even know what day it is at the moment. We are around the first week of January. So the 20th, so it's not next week, it's the week after, is a really great session with one of our trainers, Gemma Miles. She is she works with women's health, but more from a massage perspective. So she's working with hypopressives as well as fascia and scar release massage. So she's more of a massage therapist. So she's going to be talking to us about the fascial connection and hypopressives and women's health. And that's on the 20th, and that is in the evening. So that's 7:30. So that's your next kind of bit of team training. And most months there will be something from me like this, and then something from somebody else. So last month, for example, Sam Blakey, who's one of our senior trainers, she did some training on diastasis recti, and she also kind of went through how she's trying to get together a campaign to make diastasis checks something that GPs know about, know how to do, and that roll out with postnatal women. So I just put that in the group, the Trainers Unite group today, is a link to our website where that is, or YouTube basically. So that's the same with all of these trainings. If you go back into the UK Hypopressive Trainers Unite group, click on the guides button, they're all there. Okay, so any of these Q&A sessions, you can fast forward over the bits that you don't need. But the Sam Blakey one is there now for you to have a look at, and that was from 2nd or 3rd week of December. So as these are kind of like a Q&A type session, the next thing I need to tell you is, and I could kind of do with some of your help here, if anybody's got any ins to any osteopath groups, chiropractic groups, physio groups, Pilates groups, yoga groups, any groups where there are people that we would like to train on our courses. We know that they love to get their CPDs for the year. So as part of their qualification requirement, they need to have done so many CPD hours. And we're now CPD accredited for our online course. And I'm just jumping through the hoops as well to do the accreditation for the live course as well. So hopefully that will be ready by the first date that's available for our live course, which is the 1st of March. So that's quite exciting. And what I would like is, if anyone's in any of those groups, that they just maybe write something and share that we have that CPD accreditation now, because that's a definite plus. We've had lots of people in the past ask us, do we get CPD points for this? And in the past it was a no, because we weren't accredited with them, but now we are. So yeah, if anyone wants to share that, I can put a post together for you, and then it's easy for you to just copy and paste it. So maybe let me know in the chat box, or let me know in the group whether you think you've got a group somewhere that I'm not in that you can share and talk about the course, maybe put a little bit of a testimonial, and now say you can, added bonus, you've got CPD points as well. Okay, so that's my bit of news. Great start for the year. As soon as I've got the live course accredited, I'm going to put this level 2 through as well. And that will probably force me to put some level 2 dates out for you. Anybody looking to do the level 2 advanced hypopressives, which I would highly recommend, wouldn't you, Amanda? Good. Okay, so let's get to the session and the questions. So really good question before we go to the chat box. Actually, I'm going to go to Caroline's question, which is that Caroline's been not very well, as we were discussing. And part of that has been that she's been really coughing quite badly and has been having, I mean, previously, Caroline's background is that Caroline started off as my client. She came to me because she had stress and urge incontinence. And Caroline, can you just add to it for me? Did you have a prolapse as well?
Yeah, I had a cystocele. There was a suspected rectocele, and I had massive, massive fibroids. Massive.
Lots going on, wasn't there? And
Yeah.
you're very active, very fit, like going to the gym, mad, crazy, lifting heavy weights, just
Yeah.
all of that shit.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And so obviously that really impacted, and we got to know each other through networking, didn't we?
Yes. Initially, I met you through networking, and in my desperate hunt, because I'd been through all of the trainings that the NHS offer, and the tenor vibrator thing that you hold inside your vagina and suck onto, and I tried eggs, and then I saw a womb massage therapist, and she recommended you, and I just went, "Hannah, what have I've got nothing. I've got nowhere else to go.
No, and the
I'm gonna
great thing
cry. You're
was,
my last resort."
that you had some brilliant results, didn't you?
Oh my God. I was queen of tenor pads. I mean, I couldn't deadlift without, I was only deadlifting 80K, but I was soaking through the strongest tenor pads going. I would knock my hip on a door. I'd piss myself.
Yeah.
There's no way, but life was planned around what size tenor pad would I be needing to wear. And it went on. I mean, it must have built up over about 2 years, Nikki. I'm sure. I mean, it sounds crazy now. It was that long.
But that's the trouble with the current treatment, is basically go away, come back when it's like your
And
life.
I did the NHS Kegel stuff, and initially things got better, and then one day it was as if everything just went, and I was back to square one again.
Yeah.
The tenor thing got me to the stage where I could get out of bed without leaking. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? But it didn't go beyond that. So yeah, I didn't know where else to go. My children were giving me
Yeah, and
stories.
so just give us a little bit of an update on what's been going on. You haven't been very well for how long?
Well, just say first of all, of course, those issues all went, and I deadlifted 100. Well, I didn't deadlift her. I lifted 100 kilos in farmers' walks, completely dry. Yeah, go man. But this, and so I've had years of no tenor pads. It's been amazing. But this cough now, the cough has been non-stop until I've brought something off my chest. A really hard cough, all the pressure going down onto my pelvic floor and out through my head. My head's very tender to touch at the moment. But with the coughing, I would start weeing. So I've been back in tenor pads this week.
Yeah.
Then I saw a good homeopath. The nature of the cough changed, and I stopped weeing myself.
Oh, interesting.
The cough has changed again, and I'm leaking again slightly, not as badly.
Okay.
But sorry, I'm just not in this. I'm just not mentally together at the moment, and I'm really tired. I was thinking, can I do some hypopressives? What can I do whilst I'm ill?
Really hard, yeah. I mean, when I read your email, I thought to myself, well, the likelihood of you actually being able to do a period of time of that breathing with the postures without coughing is not very high, is it? Let's face it. And
I'll try it, but yeah.
my normal advice would be, if you can first thing in the morning and you're not having a hacking cough, just lay in bed and do some of the breathing with the breath holds without any posture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But the likelihood of you being able to do like a session between 10 and 20 minutes, like you normally would,
Hmm.
is not very likely. But if you can do small, like in postures where it doesn't affect you quite as badly, a good
Yeah.
posture to do when you've got a really bad cough because it lines everything up properly and helps with the leakage is half bent over.
Ah, that makes sense.
So a hip hinge position, making sure that you're not tucking your bum under, getting that pelvis in neutral and getting your ribs and everything lined up. I mean, that's quite true of quite a lot of the postures, but half bent over in particular. And if you are lying down, you can adopt that hip hinge position and it's a better position to cough in.
I will practice that. Thank you.
So,
Amazing.
if you know you're like not gonna be able to do hyperpressives, just think about that hip hinge position, either in standing. You'll be
Mhm.
in Tesco's doing your shopping and suddenly go into posture two as you cough, but who cares? Or if you're lying in bed or you're resting, then think about that half bent over position because you can still do it lying down, like hip hinge
Yeah.
position would be better lineup for you. So that would be my answer to that. And then just come back to it whenever you can, really. You know, Rich has been coughing, and he's now got pain in his back as well.
Mm.
And that's from like where everything's just completely tensing and not being in the, he's not in the correct posture. He's getting very, very rounded into the cough. You do, don't you? Kind of round it
Mm.
off, and it creates that pressure downwards. So yeah, whatever you can do really to try and
That makes
take
sense.
that a little bit.
Thank you.
But I hope you get better soon.
I'm definitely on the mend, but I thank you.
I'm going to pop you on mute now. Right, let's go to questions. So, lovely jubbly. Okay, Emanuela, you say you took your level 1 a year ago, but you're still not very confident when you have to teach to a client. Also, I'm already a yoga teacher. When is level 2 available? Okay, so how can we help you would be my question with, or what are you not confident with? What can you unmute yourself?
So the thing is, with the yoga, the breathing pattern is completely different. So because I try to link both together, especially to people that don't ask me for hypopressive, but I know that they've got kids, so they struggle. I introduce at the beginning of the class, so say, we are going to do a couple of position in hypopressive. I explained the handstand position and the different way to do the hypopressive, but because it's different, and especially with the vacuum, it's not my mother tongue, so I need to explain that first because I'm Italian. So I've got everything in my mind completely clear, but when I have to explain to them the vacuum without force anything, should be something natural that you can feel that happens in your body. They say that they understand me, but I saw that they look at me like, what she wants, with that question mark on their face. And I would like to be more maybe in the, be able to explain better, what's up during this process.
So first of all, I think it's quite a hard thing to do to combine two things together in one session. So that would be the first thing probably is that,
Mm.
yes, these people need hyperpressives and that you're just kind of trying to maybe get a bit of practice and introduce it in. However, I'm not sure that a yoga session is really where you want it to be as like a hybrid, especially if you're not confident with teaching hyperpressives. If you
Mm.
felt absolutely 100% okay with teaching hyperpressives and you could just slot it in to the beginning or end of something, then that's fine. But I think whilst you're getting your confidence, you're almost better to try and keep them a bit more separate.
Okay. because what I'm usually do is make just the breathing pattern. So I now explain to them at the beginning how to breathe in a hypopressive way, and try to help them to open well the rib cage with the breathing. So try to explain the benefit that we can get, and then we are going to practice yoga. Then at the end of the practice, I'll put 5 minutes of breathing again, because it's something that help us for go through the shavasana at the end of the yoga class. So in like that, I think it got more sense, it's more balanced the class. But the way that I think I'm struggle to let them know, let them be aware of what I mean, when I explain to them.
My thing would be just to keep everything really simple then.
Okay.
That what you actually need to say to them, that in this part of what you're doing, completely forget about what you've done with yoga.
Yeah. Okay.
And that what we're trying to do is to get more function from the diaphragm than we would normally do with yoga. So, we're not just getting that up and down movement, we're getting much more stretch. So we're trying to stretch the diaphragm more.
Mm-hmm.
We then get that deep connection with the pelvic floor reconnecting.
Yes.
No, they're best friends. Describe them as best friends. Take a whiteboard in, draw a picture if it's helpful.
Yeah.
If you've got a whiteboard that you can take
Okay.
into class and a pen, then you can draw a picture of a house. And like the top part being the diaphragm, the bottom part being the pelvic floor, and the fact that they are totally connected, and that we're trying to get that diaphragm to reconnect with the pelvic floor so the pelvic floor can function together with the diaphragm.
Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
doing this lateral breathing and getting that big stretch of the diaphragm, that's helping to reconnect them as best friends.
Yes.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying. I remember back when, I've been doing this for 12 years now. So I would say since COVID and having to have things brought online, I've had to change the way I speak about hypopressives. So I don't use the same language because I need to keep it as a universal, simple language for people. And so now I adopt that, whether I'm doing a workshop, whether I'm doing online stuff, whatever I do, because I just find it easier for people to digest and understand.
Yes, because the problem is they don't have any knowing about the body. So when you talk about pelvic floor, they think it's something about the women, not the men. But also the men have got the pelvic floor. So it's not so I do a post sometimes on Instagram to explain to them what is the pelvic floor and why also the men, they should try to practice, because the fact that they go to the toilet during the night is something that they need to heal. So there is something also, we go in menopause, but they've got other problem when they go to their 50s. So
Okay. So in answer to your question about like confidence, you sound like you know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Maybe just want to kind of simplify it down a little bit. So
Yeah.
think about the person in front of you. You know your stuff, right? But you're just probably overcomplicating it when you're putting it out there. So think about the person in front of you and how they've got an attention span of a newt, like a toddler. They won't, unless you say the right words, they won't engage with it. So you can say things like, you might have been told your pelvic floor is weak. And when it's weak, this means that you might be leaking when you exercise, or you might feel a discomfort down there, or you can keep it very simple as to the things that we're talking about. So they're then sitting there going, yeah, that's me. If you need a pad when you exercise, then you may feel like your pelvic floor, you may have been told your pelvic floor is weak. And then you need to educate them as to why it's not weakness. It's just that disconnection, that's dysfunction, and that then bring in the lateral breathing will help to reconnect that, and the vacuum, the breath hold, also will amplify those effects.
Yeah.
I think it's just like maybe even kind of practicing to, and I've done hundreds of workshops where people have sat there and like you can tell the lights are on but no one's at home, and that's all down to me and the language I've used. But each of those workshops has just been a learning experience, so you're quite new at it, so you've just got to practice it on people. So, you know, even if you could get a group of your girlfriends together or a group of your clients that you know really well and just say, look, I need to practice my language. Be honest with them. I need to practice, and I need to ask you honestly for your feedback. Did you understand what I was saying? Does it make sense? Do you get the concept of it? Now, they don't need to know the ins and outs of it. They don't need to know all the technical stuff, but if they can go, oh yeah, I can see that, I understand that now. It's not because I need to like keep squeezing my pelvic floor and make it really strong. It's because I need to bring overall function back to that area. You know, that's what you want to hear them saying. And I'm with you on the, it's a hard sell to start with, because we have been gaslit for years being told our pelvic floor is weak. And you know,
Yeah.
that everybody you talk to, even young women who've just had children, my pelvic floor's weak. This is happening because I've had a baby. Well, not, you know, not like, oh, this is what we can do about it. Just this, you know, that we're just fed these messages, and in the end, we believe them. And so,
Yeah.
really hard thing to kind of get to grips with and understand how you can change that. But practice is what you want. You want to do, just say to some clients, I'm going to do a little 30-minute workshop. I'm going to give you a little bit of spiel. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it, and then we're going to do something. Yeah, just really quickly, and just it will just be a freebie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then just keep practicing those with different groups of people. And also practice doing, like you say you do Instagram stuff. Well, sit down and think about, right, I'm going to run a 30-minute workshop. Pretend you've got those people in front of you and actually run it to the camera, not live anywhere, just film it on your camera, then watch it back, or
Yeah.
ask a group, send it to someone that you know and ask them if it made sense. Because
Yeah.
the only way I can't give you a magic solution, but the only
No.
the
But
only
what
way
I
you're going to
see,
get,
especially when you explain the handstand position, they look at me and they say, I have fun, and they say, come on, you can reinforce your arm. But they don't understand that they need to keep the position still. Otherwise, the pelvic floor start to moving. If they don't, keep the attention on the position, the way you need to put your hands, all the body will be moving around, because after a couple of breaths you start to
yeah.
you have to
The other
readjust.
thing I'd say, for me personally, is that I never really enjoy doing it in groups. It's just me personally. I
Mhm.
much prefer teaching to one to people. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
will be great one-to-one as well.
you might find that you'll have more success in the beginning with your language, the way that you learn how to correct people and you get them to understand things on a one-to-one basis before you put it into group sessions. Yeah.
Yes, perfect, thank you.
And you said to me at the beginning, was it a different question you were asking
Yes.
the client? Do you
Yeah,
want to say that?
I've got a private client. She got a cesarean 3 years ago. Now, at the very bottom where the scar is, she's got a big lump that is quite different from the left side. It's like she's got a second belly underneath. And
Okay.
she asked me, do you think we can do something with the hypopressive? What I say is, first go to the GP, and because sometimes when they sew the tissue together, there is a scar underneath, between I don't know how to say in English, but between the back of the skin and the top of the skin when they're sewing. So this should be something that heal in a wrong way. But still, what I say to her, we can work with the hypopressive and see how it goes. So I can't guarantee, because I think it's something that she needs to deal with the GP.
I don't think the GP will be helpful.
Mm.
He won't be helpful for her. She wants to look into doing some scar release work as well, because some of that will probably be tension that's caused by the scar.
Yeah, because what I say to her, when you've got the cesarean, did they give you some cream, something to massage? Because I know that you need to do some kind of things for help your skin to heal properly. But she said, no, nobody told me anything. And after 3 months, I start to feel this lump, you know, these big things under my belly.
Okay, Katie's just very helpfully said, because my brain cell wasn't working then, but C-section scar therapist. So she should try and find somebody
Yeah.
help her with the scar. And there are therapists. So I think actually Gemma, who's going to do the training in a couple of weeks, will probably talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be
Yeah. Yeah.
one for you to watch or come live to. But that's the sort of person that would be better to see rather than the GP. You're right in not promising her miracles. Just say
Yeah.
that really until she's had some scar release work done, that it may or may not make any difference doing hypopressives. But what you need to do is kind of sell the benefits of all the other benefits of hypopressives on, you know, that she's going to get. And, you know, and then hopefully she'll get some scar release done and it'll, you know, it'll all kind of tie in.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Going to put you on mute now. Right. Who else have we got here? So you also asked me when the level 2 will be available online. It's going to be a while, if I'm honest. I haven't got a date. Hopefully sometime this year. I will be doing a live training date. Is that going to be any good for you? It will be down here in Buckinghamshire, though. You're in Scotland, I think, aren't you? Yes. But, well, they have flights and it's really nice down here in Bucks. Anyway, we can talk about that another time. So Katie says, any further verbal cues or tips for, I presume, for getting your clients to get the vacuum? I would say that actually to take the emphasis off of them. Have you got people, Katie, if you unmute yourself, who can't get the vacuum?
Yeah, I think it's just sometimes when I've been working with some of the clients, they've struggled to get that reflex with the widening of the. So I think mostly I think from your recommendation as well, often when they do find it difficult or more of a challenge, then find the 4 or 4s.
Yeah,
probably one of the best like positions to help.
Any of the unloaded positions.
Yeah.
So the first 3 things would be, are they getting rid of all the air?
Yeah.
So cue them to go through and blow through their handle through a tube to really make sure, go back to basics with that exhaling completely, make sure that they get rid of all the air, because that will be one of the major things for someone not achieving a vacuum.
Yeah.
And then make sure they're not sniffing any air in, which you'll hear.
Yeah.
Some people, they'll do the exhale, they'll hold their breath and you'll get a little sniff. If they're struggling with that, get them to do the nose clip. Even if you're teaching them a posture, just get them to take one hand away and do a nose clip.
Yeah.
And then the most important one is that relaxation. So if their muscles are still working like they were to do that final exhale, when they're holding their breath, then they're never going to get a vacuum, because it doesn't matter if they've got rid of all the air and they're not breathing in. If they're bracing, they're not going to get a vacuum. So they need to be able to relax. So if I've got someone on the floor and I'm talking them through the breathing, I will usually get them to brace and like pull their belly button to the floor and get that feeling of all the muscles working, and then just ask them to relax it. And that feeling of relaxation, automatically kind of the ribs go, oh, and they release because the muscles around them aren't holding them. So it's going back to basics with it. It may be that if it's been a few weeks and they haven't got a vacuum, or you're not seeing anything, that you have to go back over those steps. Also remember that you can see around the clavicle area if someone's getting a vacuum without having to worry about what's going on at the ribs. Hello. I just help myself toward the fire and the ornaments. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so don't forget you can see it here if they're not getting it there. And if you can see it here and it's only tiny there, let it go, because it will, muscle memory will mean that will only increase over time.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
So often, if someone's really like, I don't know how many sessions you're doing with people, whether you're doing them one-to-one, but often in the first session, people don't get that vacuum with me, but I don't put a focus on it. I make sure they understand how to get it, and I just get them to go away and practice it. Yeah. And then the other thing being is if they focus on it on the floor, when they get up and start with a posture, as soon as they start doing the postures, the breathing comes in because they've taken their focus off the breathing. So sometimes just going, oh, let's just park that, let's leave it, let's do it in a posture. And you might then go into all fours or wherever you want to start, really. That they'll start to get it anyway. But those 3 key things will be make sure they're getting rid of all the air, because people think they are and they're not. Yeah, so breathing out through the hand is a really good one. Make sense?
Yeah, I think that's it. And do you, just so that feeds on to another question I had as well about like, do you also verbalize that when people fully breathe out to make sure that they're not bearing down, because then that would
yeah, you don't want to do that. And you can see that. You'll be able to see that because their tummy will rise. So you can get your client to put their hand on their lower belly as they're doing that full exhale to make sure there's not a big rise there. So when they're doing it at home, they're not going putting pressure down on the pelvic floor.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Oh, that's nice, Mandy. I'm here to see if there's any new ideas and to connect. Well, I hope you're enjoying yourself so far. So those guys that are interested in level 2 training, are we thinking online, or are we thinking, the thing being with the level 2 training is it's really difficult to put it into an online teaching form. And that's what I'm struggling with at the moment, because like Mandy's taken it, and you really need to do it in person if I'm being honest. But if I put it into an online training form, I think that I'd have to do some sort of live sessions where I do them on Zoom and you'd be in your space doing them with me. Does that make sense? So that's why I've struggled to it's not as straightforward as the level 1 foundations course, where we're teaching you certain things. Here we go, here's us teaching you that bit, and we'll move on. It's a tricky one. So I think there's an element of I'm getting in my own head with the online, how I would do it online for those that are interested. And probably I should just get on and do it. But I would say you're much better off doing it in person if you can. Katie, where are you based?
London.
So it's not a massive schleck for you to come and do a 1-day course.
No.
It is for Emanuela, Scotland. Okay. I mean, level 2, brilliant course, because it gives you so much more than those basic 8 postures. You've got progressions to every posture. You've got a whole new flow. you've got progressions to the breathing. So there's so many things that you can bring into your own training, as well as your clients, your classes. You know, you can make up some really great classes. Those are the from COVID, those are the online classes that I still run, is what I call my next step hypopressive classes. People that are not beginners, they've been doing it forever, and they want some fun, basically, and they want some difficulty levels. And using the level 2 stuff within those classes is what I do. Every now and again, I'll strip it back to basics and get them doing all the basic stuff, but very rarely now. It's always the more progressive stuff. And they're the only classes that I've carried on running. I don't even run beginners classes online anymore. So it is worth doing it. I will pull my finger out and give you a decision, but it's more likely to be a live course before it is. And it may be that we run a live course and I get someone in to record it. And that might be the way forward. Talking out loud, brainstorming with you guys. That's the thing, is it's kind of knowing, I mean, we are going to need to put an online course for the level 2 advanced out, because there are people in different countries that want it. So they're not all going to fly into the UK and do the level 2, unfortunately. Okay, Kat, what would I like from the sessions? Looking for general training. I don't have specific questions, but I appreciate the space to peer supervision. Amazing to move through the practice. Let's look at some. Okay, so Kat, you're looking more for practical training.
Well, I put that in because I hadn't thought of a question, and then I just thought of another question, which is a bit further down in the chat. But
Okay.
I think I'm just one of those people who I learn through doing.
Yeah.
Quite a lot, and I think I mean, I'm right at the end of the level 1 training. I just need to submit my final video. But I've done hypopressive from when I was postpartum in South America as my recovery. So that's how I came across this method. And I just think that sometimes, you know, when you do it online and you kind of think, oh, it'd be really good just to see how other people move. And I'm quite a visual mover by trade, if you like. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if there is space for that, that's great. But equally, this Q&A is just brilliant, sort of learning and sharing. So it was just a fleeting thought.
What would benefit? So say we put like a live training type session together. What would you like to see in that session? Would you like a whole hour? Would you like half an hour just to go through all the basic positions? What would be your ideal?
My ideal would be half an hour to an hour of going through the different postures, and then, you know, therefore, because you sometimes, I mean, I'm only working with 2 friends who've been kind of my guinea pigs, but I have quite a lot of women clients that I want to begin to migrate with this work to, and I can already identify that for some the posture might be very, very easy for me, but it might be a bit more challenging. So it's that kind of like, oh, I have a client who, when she does this, she finds it really difficult too, and but yeah, physically doing it rather than just.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Is there anybody else here? And I know, Mathilde, you're on right at the very beginning of the course. So is that something that would be beneficial for you as well?
Yes, I guess so. Yes, I'm like a bit of a blank page at the moment. So
this would maybe be more for not necessarily people that have qualified and done it, or maybe newly qualified trainers that are a little bit shaky on it still. And then students, people that are still on the course or have done a live course. Yeah, it's a good suggestion. Yeah, absolutely. We can put something like that together. So I think what I need to do is see what interest there is for that, you know, because, you know, I'm happy to do a session, definitely, like one of the team training sessions to make it a practical. But I need to understand so from what you're saying is that you just want to kind of go through all the postures and ask questions about how you modify and how you change and what you can do with this, etc.
Like a check-in. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. Well, I will put that to. I've obviously got a list of people that are still going through the course and still that done live courses and that are not submitted yet. So I can put that to them as well and see whether it be something they're interested in. The only difficulty then is getting a time for everybody, a bit like these sessions anyway. Although I will say this is probably the one where most people have turned up on my sessions. The evenings I'll maybe get 3 or 4. So it would just then be kind of like finding that sweet spot of when is it that everyone can kind of that said they want to do it can show up. Yeah. So it might take me a while to get around to organising that one, but definitely something, because that's what this is all about. It's about finding out what you need. This is support. This is networking. This is, you know, putting people together. From Sam's session that she did last month, there's going to be a 3-way collab with me and someone else. So, you know, anything where we can get together and get the word out there a little bit more is brilliant. So yeah, excellent. Thank you for that. Experience with working with. Katie says, I'm curious to know people's experience with working with diastasis and umbilical hernia. One of my very first clients was hernia, but I'm not sure it was umbilical. Hers was more further up the linea alba. And with any hernias, the guidelines are that we're not going to make that go away. What we're going to do is prevent any more from happening. So with her, for example, she was a twin mum, she was tiny and she had a big pooch and quite a big diastasis still. So in getting that core coactivation, getting all those deep core muscles working together, pelvic floor function, everything better, that naturally kicked in her rectus abdominis, got smaller, and the linea alba fascia got the tensile strength improved. So I find with, I'd say probably 100% of my clients that we get a slight closure and better tensile strength with a rectus abdominis. And I've had someone who her rectus abdominis was like this. It was massive and scary, and it was new in my journey with hypopressives before I was really doing too many training courses, and yeah, it really freaked me out. But she was very newly postnatal. She was on her 3rd child, and you know, we got her back to, you know, really functional. And that's the thing with it. The thinking now is it's actually not so much about, I mean, you wouldn't want it to stay that size. You would want it to reduce a bit, but it's actually that fascial sheath that we want to improve. We want that tensile strength to improve so she's able to handle the pressure of life and exercise and living and all the rest of it. So yeah, the person to talk to about diastasis is and listen to is Sam's. And also there's another lady in the group called Bethia. She runs Pilates, and she's doing a lot. She's done a library of information for postnatal women. So, but if I've got someone who's newly postnatal, I try and take the focus off of the size of the gap. It's more to do with that functionality, and the size usually reduces. Would that be your experience, Amanda? I'm going to bring you into this. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah. So you find that with postnatal clients with diastasis that you get good results with hypopressives?
I've not had much with diastasis. Most of my clients have been more about prolapses.
Okay.
So I can't really say either way on the diastasis, but yeah.
Thank you. All right.
I don't know if it's worth mentioning my own experience with that, because I have a very small umbilical hernia. Would it be worth it? Yeah. So I had a very small diastasis after birth, and with hypopressive it closed quite quickly. I come from a dance background, so maybe that had something to do, I don't know. But the umbilical hernia, mine is very, very small, and I find that certain things feel a bit like it pushes out, i.e. if I've not been working my core effectively, sometimes around menstruation, and it gets inflamed, it feels like it pops out. It doesn't literally, because it's not external, but I find that the hypopressive, when I am going through that, and because it's quite painful, I come back to the hypopressive practice and I feel an immediate difference, as in the pain goes away. Sometimes it does a little weird shooting pain, sort of like from my belly button down, and I can feel a lump when it feels like it's outward. Don't know if it literally is, but when I come back to doing the practice, and maybe I do 3 days in a row of a full flow, and it feels like it pops back in. So I can only speak from my own experience that definitely helps.
Helpful.
Still there, but it's not not going, hey.
That's the thing with hernias, is that once you've got one, it really is, if you want to get rid of it, it's a surgical procedure. But many people have severe symptoms, such severe symptoms that they really need to go through that. We can just kind of use hypopressives to manage it, which is basically what you're saying, isn't it? Yeah, cool. Excellent. Thank you. What are the main indicators of the difference between hypoactive and hyperactive pelvic floor function? In other words, are there indicators when observing through the practice the difference? I would say that if you've got it's a difficult one, because if someone's had children, then the whole hip area, the whole pelvic area tends to be a bit out of kilter. There's, nobody's really getting the right rehab for that either. And so what tends to happen is you might find in the posture, you can see down one side, especially if they've got an episiotomy scar or a tear, that there is a difference. You can look at the way the hip joint is, in relation to the other one, the difference in height as well. You can look at the feet, you can look at the knees, so all the way up the joints, you can see where there's tension. And that would probably be the only way externally that I would say you'd be able to see during the practice. Especially if you've got tension in that hip area, your client's going to find it more difficult to be in cross-legged, for example. So that might be an indicator, but it could be an indicator of lots of things. I had hypertonic pelvic floor, and so conventional treatment just made everything worse. So if you've got someone who's hypertonic, they can do some scar release work. They can go and see a women's health physio who's experienced with that, to do some internal pressure point release. That's always very helpful. So yeah, but external factors, I'd be looking at their structure. So, on the course, on the physical course, the in-person course, we talk about doing posture photos. I think we probably talk about it on the online course as well. So, getting someone to stand in their normal posture, take a picture of them front on, side on, and of their back, and you can see lots of different discrepancies, but whether that would be a clear indicator of that one thing is not. It's not. It could be lots of things. Yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. In person. This is in person. Level 2 course. Good. Wow. Would it be in addition to the 1 day? Yes. So it's a completely different course, Mathilde. So basically we've got 2 courses, the foundations, which you're learning now, and you're coming along to the live day. So that's great because you've got like combined training there. It's the first time we've really offered that. it was either one or the other before, but you've got the heads up of doing the online course, and then you've got your live training. The level 2 is advanced. So as I explained, it's progressions to every posture that you're learning now in the foundations. And then it's a completely different flow, and it's how to incorporate that into maybe classes and, you know, one-to-one clients. It's more advanced breathing. Yeah, there's lots of different things to it. So we needed to separate out. It's quite an in-depth course. And even if we teach it in one day, you have to have some pre-learning anyway. So I always have a WhatsApp group where I share videos that you learn stuff pre to coming to the course. And you have to commit to that, because otherwise you're behind everyone else. It's just a mental day. It really is. It's quite a full-on physical, practical day. And if you don't do the pre-learning, it's just crazy. We used to run it over 2 days, and that's why I say if we don't do the pre-learning, it's just too much to take in almost. Okay, I think I've answered everybody's questions. Has anybody got anything else they want to add before we wrap it up? I think actually from a point of view that we didn't have we only had one question before we started. It's actually turned into a really good, nice discussion. Hopefully there's been lots of helpful information, and there's certainly been some really good feedback from you guys with regards to what you want and what we can do going forward. Remember that all of these sessions are just about support, collaboration, getting together, seeing what everyone else is doing, seeing how we can help each other. So if maybe there's been a question that you feel like you've got a little bit more experience than me, or that you might be able to help someone, then do reach out in the group. Yeah, all of you guys are in the support group. So if you feel like there's anyone that you know or anything that you could help somebody with, then please do share it in the group. That's what it's there for. It's there for support, it's there for connection, it's there for collaboration, as well as, you know, for us to bring these trainings to you. So yeah, that would be my final thing really. And obviously I've recorded this. I can see you tapping away, Kat, so I'm not going to wrap it up quite. Hopefully that will come through. Did you oh, I didn't want to do that, sorry. Did you write something in the chat box, Kat?
No, sorry, I was just trying to get rid of somebody who was
Oh no, sorry.
on my Teams chat, because I'm technically at work, so I was like trying to get rid of them. Sorry.
I won't wrap it up before you.
Sorry.
Yeah, so anyway, hopefully if you feel like you can reach out to anybody that's been within this group, and if you're watching this on a recording and you feel like you can help anybody that's in the group with anything that they need, or any of your expertise, then please post in the UK Hypopressive Trainers Unite group. Thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful afternoon. It's great to see you. Take care of yourself, Caroline, and I will see you again soon. Don't forget the 20th. Put it in your diary. Bye for now.